Hello and welcome to another episode of Indie Thinking. We are talking today about Brazil. When Brazil was named the Creative Country of the Year at Cannes 2025, it should have been a victory lap. We were there. It was fantastic. There was so much good will towards Brazil, but instead, DM9's AI manipulated Grand Prix entry and multiple agency scandals turned that celebration into a bit of a crisis. The headlines sort of wrote themselves: Brazilian agencies cutting corners, fabricating results, chasing awards at any cost. But painting an entire creative culture with that brush misses the deeper truth about what makes Brazilian creativity genuinely different. And that's why difference matters more now than ever before. So joining me to talk about this are Flavio Vidigal, partner and chief creative officer at Rise New York and Partners, and Christiano Abrahao, global executive creative director at Rise New York and Partners. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this.
Hi, nice to be here, man. Thanks for having us.
It's great to have you.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry we have to talk about Brazil in this kind of light, but at the same time, I think there's so much great creativity that came out of Brazil, including you two guys. So let's talk a bit about it. So Flavio, I know you've been quoted as saying, "We made human truth a creative KPI before planners wrote it down." So when you saw the
Right.
DM9 scandal unfold with that AI manipulated case studies, what did that moment represent about the tension between authentic Brazilian creativity and the pressure to manufacture award-worthy results? How do you weigh those?
Right, man. Like it was not shocking, to be honest. That's a practice that happens in Brazil, and to be completely honest, if you're fair with this industry all over the world, it's not something exclusive
Right.
to the Brazilians, right? So I just want to clear that out of the way because I've been there. I've spent my half of my career in Brazil, the other half abroad from China, Europe, and the United States, and every single agency kind of like pushes towards that kind of practice, which is um, terrible, right?
Right.
There's a one thing though that is a bit difference from what agencies across the world practice versus what happened last year or this year, which is fraud, right?
Mhm.
It's different. Even though if we embellish the case studies, if we push that narrative a bit further to kind of like chase the awards and make sure the judge pays attention to the story that we're trying to tell about your project, when you start manipulating things in a fraud manner,
Mhm.
that's where things start a bit scary to me, particularly. So going back to your question, there was a moment where I said like, oh fuck, I might need to kind of like, you know, take out what I said. But uh, after I, reflect on the matter for the past 2, 3 months, actually, I've been thinking about this a lot. I stand for my statement. I still do. I
Right.
think Brazil is still a great country. Um, and yes, we got some missteps here and there, like I remember back in the day, a certain holdco agency, entering a application, an app that weren't even in the app store. I'm pretty sure you remember those.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
were claiming like millions of users in, like, and that was a New York agency. So, I'm just saying, like, yes, sure, it kind of like bad moments for that type of headline, especially because we were named Creative Country of the Year and all that. But I don't think that takes out the credit, that Brazil built across the past, 40, 60, 50 years, to be honest, since like we had our first gold with Oliveto. So, I still believe in Brazilian creativity. And when I say human truth, even in those fake uh, campaigns, they're all based on truth insights. They're
Yep.
not made up insights, right? They're not made up like, oh, I'm creating a problem for me to solve. It's not. It's just like we look at the human truth and try to solve something genuinely. In that sense, even if you make some campaign up for awards, the creative thinking and the thought process is there, right?
Right.
So that's how that's like how I see this thing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christiano, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I think I might repeat something that Flavio already said, but yeah, for me, when I look, I don't see as a problem isolated in Brazil. I think it's like this is much, it's beyond Brazil. I think Brazil has both kinds of work as well. There's also like work that is very creative, originated by real briefs that in real timelines that work exactly like everywhere else. But then there is, this big incentive for awards, which is not just there, right? It's everywhere. If you
Right.
look at the entry, it's not just Brazilians entering. And but that is created by the nature of the industry, where like sometimes maybe people don't have the same opportunities, the same briefs, but they're very creative, and they have to find a way of creating their self-initiating their own projects, which sometimes turns out to be a real thing, and it turns out to be accepted by the clients, and it gets out there, and it's just as real as a real brief that you get from the beginning. So I do think like there's these two kinds of projects, where the real ones and the self-initiated ones. But when you look from this angle, when you look at the self-initiated ones, you can easily end up in a place where, okay, you need to push this, you need to push that, you need to push, and you might end up with a project that is not, it is something else. It is sometimes, I think a lot of them, they have a real truth, they ended up with a real client, but maybe they're not really real. It's difficult, and then it means like when you're putting together, since you already have done so much based on your own desire, I can see that people just start pushing the narrative as well, and they can tweak the narrative, because and then they ended up with something that is a fraud. So I don't know. It's funny that it's like, I think it's very hard to turn a real project into a fraud, but I can see how a self-initiated, like more ghosty project can end up one. I think it's just more likely, but it is,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like in this case you're saying about AI, but it's also like what is the fine line between, because okay, there was one you forged a fact, right?
Right.
But there is a lot of tolerance in exaggeration as well, right? Like on those case studies, they're put it together, they choose a narrative that is also might not be exactly how it happened. So, but this is the industry we are on, and that's like, I think there's more. I think the positive side of something like this happening is to make us question where we are, because
Right.
it's not Brazil, it's everywhere. And how many of those have, should have the credit that they have, when
Yeah.
you they're the awards, so I think maybe one needs to think about the whole thing, like also many years ago was very different. There are only a couple of awards, and now you have a million of ways of entering. So everything has changed to a place like, it's just like
yeah,
inflation, that maybe when something like this happened this year, it becomes a point that maybe it's time for everybody to rethink, stop, you
yeah,
rethink, maybe
Yeah. I
what
think,
should we be doing different? What is the goal of all this after all? Right?
right.
Is it only to show creativity? What is the goal? Is it more effectiveness? Like, and we have the different awards,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. And I think the push to win an award is so great. And I know it's just as great in Brazil as other places. This certainly isn't the first time that we've had a scandal at Cannes from somebody, fabricating something.
yeah,
But, that it's, you know, I guess because it was Brazil's year, and I think it was kind of seen as that, like,
Yeah.
okay, that's kind of a letdown. So, I mean, for CMOs trying to
Yeah.
distinguish between the agencies that do authentic Brazilian style work, which is to me, wild creativity, always pushing forward, really having a strong point of view, versus those chasing manufactured success. What should they be looking for? What are the red flags versus the green flags, as it were?
Should I take that one? Or?
Sure, go right
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, go
Yeah.
on.
So, like what I think CMOs should look, because like there's two types of CMOs, right? Like one, they also chase awards and also pick up agencies that are like in that kind of like cycle, right? Of awards every year. So there's certain CMOs that kind of go to gut because they know they're gonna get awards and they're gonna so and then the other ones who are, I actually care about the work. So I would say if you want to chase, there's two types of Brazilian agencies too. Like even though most of us, even those like founded in New York, like us,
Yeah.
we love awards. Like I think that's fundamentally a way to prove ourselves out there, especially for indie agencies. Like say, hey, we can compete with these big guys. We can still win awards. We can be competitive in that sense, and we can also provide CMOs what they need, right? Either if is an award for themselves, right? So they can kind of get their bonus, advance in their careers and all that, or make sure we do the day to day right. So what I have to say fundamentally is, do an inner search of what you need for a partner, right? Like genuinely, like what do you need? So do you need something that needs a strong point of view that looks to your brand and find the truth that wants to be communicated and wants to put it out there? Or do you want something that kind of like does the job for the day and that's it, right? Like you just want to check boxes. So if you want check boxes, there's plenty of agencies out there, right? You can go. That's not the case with the Brazilian ones or Brazilian founded ones, because we're not for everyone. And I agree. And I agree. Sometimes we're a little uncomfortable. Sometimes we push for things that it may or may not be too risky, or people some may consider a risk. Uh, but the payoff is probably greater, especially when it comes to if I'm trying to advance in my career in a sense, right? Like me as a CMO, right?
Right.
So sometimes Brazilian agencies are more creative, even I would say indie agencies in general. It is sort of a risk taking, but it's totally worth it because like I wouldn't say a gamble, but it's something that can go so well for you, and then you can see those who actually put their coins on gut, for example, right?
Right.
Like, or other agencies like Rethink, right?
Yep.
Or Mischief, or even the biggest, like, I would say, Mojo Supermarket, like, so those who kind of gambled, and I'm air quoting here,
Yeah.
putting their business into those agencies, they actually collected a pretty well and good deal. So that's what I'm saying. It's less about like Brazilian or those like, but I would say like since we're talking about Brazilians, if you were trying to do something meaningful, right? You go the indie route, or in this conversation, you go Brazilian route.
Right.
If you want to go, and also I'm sure there's not plenty, but some of holdcos, they do have those shops that can do meaningful work too. But if you want to go day to day and you are looking the point of your career, or say, oh, okay, I just want to check boxes, make sure my budget is budgeted, and at the end of the day, get the numbers right so I can put in front of my CFO. There's also agencies for that. So, go with the Brazilians if you want to go, one route, and if you want, and if you still feel the day to day is for you, you go to the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, Christiano, you have Grand Prix experience. So, how can indie agencies anywhere, tap into that authentic, constraint-driven mindset without falling into the trap of fabricating their case studies to compete with the bigger players?
I was just gonna add one thing to Flavio, one,
Oh,
one
sure, go right
minute,
ahead.
which is like I think like the CMOs should look for great work, great meaningful work that might win awards, and
Yeah.
not awards that might build a great brand. Because there is one goal, you're gonna build this brand, and I think maybe win awards. And if you focus on that, you will win awards. But if you try to win awards, you might win awards, but you might not build a great brand, and then your job is not done.
Yeah.
So I think it's the great work wins.
Right.
When you look at Williams' work, he wins. It doesn't matter. He
Yeah.
might not get the Grand Prix, leading to the question. The networks, it's easier for the networks, right? They are more connected. There is more people in the politics because there is a lot of negotiation in the rooms. Like you know more people. You have more people in a network. There is more people who's gonna look at your case. It's not necessarily full corruption, but it's just you might get more attention. So I do think it's harder for the smaller agencies to when they're not part of a network. But I think, I assume, you have to do your network yourself, right? You have
Right.
to be the one who is connected. And I can see like Gian, like from LNC, they came all the way. They're very small, and they're got independent agents of the year this year.
Yep.
But he's probably very connected with a lot of people, showing his face a lot, and he's doing his job. So I think this is part of it, but I also think win what you can win. A silver or even a bronze for a small agency means a lot, and you know what?
Yes.
You won with your blood, and I think it's
Yeah.
when you look at it to identify it's great work because you probably didn't have money to apply for 20 categories, and you
Correct.
applied and you won. So it's
Yeah.
I think that's also makes a huge difference, coming there and applying for 20 categories, where
Right.
it's very different to come with your that money. It's not, you don't have a big pocket money there to
Well,
apply for the
let's
awards,
not
and you
let's
win.
not forget that awards are a for profit, right,
Yeah,
organizations. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying you pay to win, is not, but like I don't want to lose a client that
yeah,
pours money into my
yeah.
business. So I may or may not favor, but like make sure the situation accommodates those clients in a better manner. It's kind of like it's hard because like last year, when we won our first silver, it was for a project that literally like changed a law in Brazil for COVID. And the case study started with our Senate passing the law because of the project we did.
Right.
How real,
Yeah.
how much real you can get than that,
Yeah.
right? And we got a silver,
Yeah.
right?
I know.
So that one may wonder if you were Ogilvy, right? How that project could go, right, in Cannes. And also, on the other hand, there's projects that are done for proactively for like junior creatives. They do it all themselves, right? Like we see like the refugee nation and the flag and all this kind. We know, the industry knows that those were personal projects from creatives where the agencies, this might win you can, let's push it out. So there's this whole like currency that, and also leverage, I guess, not currency but leverage, that big agencies and big networks have, that unfortunately we don't. But if we win the silver, to us feels like a Grand Prix.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, take your wins, right? Is what you're saying. Take your
Of
Yeah.
wins
course, yeah.
where you
And
can get
counter blessings, yeah, counter blessings. You're like literally like we're so happy that we won that first Lion
Yeah.
ever. So it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
we're
do great work. The work cuts through. In the end of the day, like, yeah, it is. I think what it does a lot, the awards give you a lot of visibility, but when the
yeah,
work is good too, people see it and they remember. It's like, I always focus on doing great stuff that you love. And
right. I mean, yeah, good work should speak for itself.
yeah.
Always. And
Ever.
yeah, and you should always strive to do the best work, not strive to win the award. So
Yeah.
noted. Okay, so we got a couple quick hit questions here. So just one sentence answers. But what's the biggest misconception about Brazilian creativity that this DM9 scandal might have reinforced? Either one of you.
That's it. I mean, I think the fact that Brazilians trying to win awards at any cost, I think that's a misconception.
Yes. Christiano, do you agree with that?
I would say the misconception that every Brazilian tries to win award.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
I love
Next one.
that. Copywriter, huh?
All right, keeping on the theme, if you were advising a CMO who might be hesitant about Brazilian agencies after this scandal, what's the first thing you would tell them to kind of reassure them?
I would say we're very committed to the brand, right? And to the story and to the truth. If you're trying to tell a different story, then Brazilians are not for you.
Right. Cristiano?
I would just say look at the I think it comes down to individual people and agency, but you can look at their history, look at the work, you can tell what is
Yeah.
true, what is not. I mean, look at what they have done in their career, where they worked, the work. It's not just awards, every single element in there, and you can tell whether it's all fictitious or if it's all real. It's clear. It's not that difficult.
Look to the book.
Yeah. Do your research, right?
Yeah.
Like, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Last one here. The one thing that the global creative industry should stop doing immediately that this scandal may have exposed. Flavio, you talked about this earlier. What it opens our eyes to something. What is the thing that we should stop doing, especially as it relates to awards in Cannes?
Well, we as industry.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, first of all, like, going back to what Cristiano said, are we judging what? Creativity purely, or right? Or effectiveness? Second, most of the awards became PR awards, right? So, like, the amount of conversation and buzz. So it's less about, like, oh, this is a great idea. It was based on a great insight. There was some research about this, and the solution is awesome. It's less about this and more about how many PR headlines you broke, how many people tweeted about this, how many, So I feel like, to me, as a champion of creativity, I say you should start looking at creativity genuinely versus how much conversation that it broke, because if you go that route, it would push people to manufacture PR headlines, or numbers, or that chase for the number. It's kind of too crazy. So we were talking before, like Cristiano and I, about this. Like, maybe we should have different awards. Like one that only champions creativity, and other just champions whatever. So we can have it clear what we're judging.
Yeah. Cristiano?
Yeah, no, I think that's what it comes down for me. Is like, maybe it's just reevaluating how we're evaluating. Like, if it is just like, if it is about if it is about PR, it's true. Every brief now, it's about PR. So, but then you come down to that. I think, would it be how many impressions it has? Is that really counts? But people go there. It's very hard to quantify those.
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to, because it's like then you use these measures, but they're all like very subjective, and then you say, oh, 1 billion impressions. How did you count that?
Right.
You know, like I don't know. And maybe, yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I think we should just, the awards should be just thinking,
I remember.
what is not working. You know, why are we ended up where we are? You know, where we ended up there?
Yeah.
Because there are reasons. There are things that, you know, maybe I think this started a long time ago, or maybe there's a lot of changes in the way we're putting the creative out there, but the way we're evaluating is different. Maybe there is a new updated way to look at the kind of work we're producing right now. You know,
I agree.
Yeah.
Because one thing is impressions, and the other thing is, which Titanium kind of counts a lot on that, or the Grand Prix. Like the higher level, they do count, take in consideration like how much this changed something, or how much it adds to culture. You know, like which are those interesting variables, but at the same time, it's very complex.
Yeah, I think we could have a whole other show talking about how awards are evaluated, and I think that's a viable one. And if we do, we will bring you back. So,
thank you,
Christiano, Flavio from Rise New York. Thank you both for taking the time to talk with me about this. Obviously, this is a subject that's going to keep generating conversation. So we really appreciate you taking the time, and thank you everybody for tuning in to Indie Thinking. And we will be back with another show very, very soon. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Stay on.
Thank you so much.
Stay on. I want to just end the recording.